Look at the sun. Enjoy your life. Together with these non-patriots out there all running our government. It is our job and our duty to protect this government and our way of life.
Yeah, it's time for us to get new people with new ideas. I only want to serve for a limited time. I mean, you mentioned Mark Levin and the Liberty Amendments. And Mark Levin suggests that we create term limits. And I know we've talked about this, and we're kind of in agreement. It says no person may serve more than 12 years as a member of Congress, whether it be in the House or the Senate or combined. And if it's ratified, currently serving more than 12 years, you finish your term, but ineligible for a further term. I think that's fair. I think it's fair for people to serve 12 years. That's plenty. You know, the more time these people stay in office, the more power they believe they have. I mean, these politicians today, they only care about re-election, and they believe they need to raise money. They need to raise, I mean, look at Lindsey Graham and I forgot who ran against him. $120 million, I think they raised. Why does it take $120 million to run a campaign?
In South Carolina.
With 300,000 people.
Yeah.
That's just for that district. Why does it take, I mean, that's why they cater to special interest groups. Because they know they're going to get the money from them. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's obvious that the people in power, they do not know you. They do not want to know you. They don't want to answer to you. Lindsey Graham's email back to Dennis is obvious. A cookie-cutter answer that had nothing to do with what he asked. And the longer they're in office, the easier the money comes. The more power comes, and the weaker we become.
Well, you know what? Do you think we forget what they say? I got the letter. I got the email. I'm keeping everything. You know? And I said I wrote Tom Rice. I haven't even heard from him yet.
I called Tom Rice 3 times. I got to speak to one person that was with him. And he asked me, well, would you like me to give you would you like to give me your address so he can write you? And I told him no. Because I don't want that answer. I want this man to be brave enough to call me up
and explain
why he went against the Constitution, why he went against his constituency, and did what he did. And guess what, folks? My phone is laying right here. You didn't hear it ring yet, have you? Neither have I.
No. Remember last week I talked about immigration and about Texas specifically and about the legislator sponsoring that bill. I forgot his name, but I emailed him too. And again, still nothing. If they're not answering us, they're not answering our state legislators. You know they're not answering anybody else but the special interest, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't answer the special interest till they go on vacation, though.
Right. The only time you hear from them is right before an election. It's ridiculous. But I recently read a column by Lawrence Reed in Why Term Limits. And it states, when politicians know they must return to ordinary society and live under the laws passed while they were in government, at least some of them will think more carefully about the long-term effects of their programs they support. Their end-all will not be about re-election because that option will not be available. That's pretty powerful right there. When they know they must live under the same laws they create, they'll think twice about the laws they create. They work harder for all of us, and the constant bickering that we all see today comes to an end. They then realize that their actions really do affect everyone. These elected representatives will say they already have term limits, and it's every election cycle. No, it isn't. It's not the same. No one should be in office for more than 12 years. That's I'm going to go with Mark Levin on that. You know.
Yeah, he's pretty smart.
Yeah, he is. And the Supreme Court, they should have term limits too. I think 18 years. There should be no more lifetime appointments for anything, especially when 82% of the people want change. 82%. That just goes to show you these politicians don't care what we say or what we want. They only care about getting reelected to stay in power. I mean, we have to end these career politicians. Give us term limits. We've heard enough from our politicians. It's time these politicians hear from us. We demand term limits.
Yeah, exactly said. Yeah, exactly. What Dennis said is why we, the constituents, have to stop being lazy. How is it possible that 82% of the residents of this country, the whole country, wants term limits? Over what kind of time frame? It's been like that for decades, and it hasn't been instituted yet. You know whose fault this is?
Ours.
Right, it's our fault.
The voters.
Let's stop being lazy. Put the minimum effort in to knowing your the Constitution and reining in these maniacs. They are insane. The true definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Come on, we can do this. Let's do it together. Let's get it done.
I want to bring two things up on current affairs. You know, Cuomo, you see his last scandal? He gave COVID tests to like key people in his family, and Regeneron, which they're a pharmaceutical company. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy.
It is another scandal.
When is the state legislator going to impeach this guy?
Well, here's a thought that I was thinking about. Now, we know the media is Democratic based, and so is the internet, and so is every avenue of communication.
Pretty much.
So, when this man was on TV every day, won an award for it, they loved him.
Oh,
he
yeah.
was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
They pulled that back.
This is my feeling. This man was so important to that society, the state-run media, that now he was a threat in 2024. So I think they're getting rid of that threat, and they're letting the dogs out on him.
Hey, if you're in Horry County, South Carolina, I was just looking at the Myrtle Beach Herald. Just got this in the mail today. Sorry, Jack, you didn't get one.
Yeah, it's a big newspaper, folks.
But Horry County chairman says he's not fighting ethics charges. County Chairman Johnny Gardner acknowledged Tuesday that there were errors in his filings with the State Ethics Commission, and he said he will accept those penalties for those mistakes.
Big of them.
He failed to disclose $20,000 bank loan in 2018 pre-election campaign report. He failed to disclose again a $50,000 bank loan in the 2018 quarterly campaign disclosure report. He failed to disclose a $1,200 contribution from Randy Beverly. The donation was over the $1,000 cap. He failed to disclose $8,700 contribution from then campaign advisor Luke Barefoot, which was also over the $1,000 cap. You mean to tell me you forgot to mention $80,000 just about? This guy has got to go. I don't know if he's a Republican, Democrat. It don't matter.
I know what he is.
He's a cheat.
Right. That's a new party.
You know, this guy has got to go, people. Need to call him, get rid of him, because if he failed to disclose stuff like this, what is he doing to the constituents out there?
Yeah, what else did he forget?
That's right. So I got one last thought before we close. And our country is facing tough times right now. And these issues are just the tip of the iceberg. From the lockdowns, people losing their jobs, the recent executive orders by President Biden. I want you to think about everything these politicians are doing today. The lack of leadership in Washington to the effects of cancel culture. We mentioned Dr. Seuss. When these politicians have our focus on issues such as these, including immigration, what are they trying to get over on us, the American people? Just think about that.
That's right. All right, so I have a conclusion for this program this week. And for myself, this conclusion is going to our leaders. So, to the leaders of this country, the job you have, it could be important. The world is watching. They have no one else to watch in the White House. So right now, their eyes are on you. We're begging you, please, don't be afraid to be great. Don't be afraid to break from the herd of sheep that you work and live with in Washington, D.C. Stand up in the chamber in the Capitol building that you were elected and tell your colleagues what they're supposed to be doing. Please walk away from your self-interest in Washington, D.C.'s way of thinking. Come back to the American people. Come back to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Do the heavy lifting. Do the heavy lifting and be remembered and praised. You will have to do this job. Please be proud to be an American again. So, that's what I got to them. So, I want to tell Dennis, great job once again. Thank you for your dedication, Dennis. There's a lot of work you do on this group podcast. And so this is another week finishing up at the tavern. I hope everybody enjoyed their drink and conversation. Want to get involved? Drop us a line on our website, United States Coast Guard, United States Constitution Group, USCG National 2021.godaddysites.com. Remember, we're the greatest country in the world. All right? So we'll see you next week at the tavern with drink in hand.